From The National, this is Trending Middle East. I'm Yasmin Al-Taji. It's Friday, March 28th. Here are today's headlines. A U.S. military campaign against the Houthis in support of Red Sea shipping has seen fresh strikes on the rebel-controlled Yemeni capital, Sanaa. Media affiliated with the Houthis reported 2 people killed and more injured on Thursday. It's part of a large-scale offensive the U.S. launched against the Iran-backed group on March 15th. The campaign has been at the center of controversy after detailed plans were revealed to the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic when he was inadvertently added to a group chat with members of the U.S. National Security Council on the messaging app Signal. The Trump administration has vowed to use overwhelming force to halt Houthi attacks on Red Sea shipping lanes.
So the U.S. campaign aims to free up Red Sea shipping lanes and to ensure that the Houthi rebels will stop their attacks on international shipping.
The National's Mina Al-Drubi reports.
The second one is also to ensure that Iran cuts its support to the rebel group in Yemen. Since the start of the war, Iran has been smuggling weapons, has been military and politically providing support for the rebels, which has meant that the war has lasted for so long. So this is another way of the U.S. aiming to stop Iran's influence from expanding in the region.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told The National the U.S. is doing the world a, quote, great favor by going after Houthi rebels. Rubio was part of the Signal conversation leaked to The Atlantic. Messages included the times and weapons to be used hours before the attacks were launched. Here's The National's Willie Lowry at a press event with Secretary Rubio.
Are you planning on making the Europeans pay for U.S. operations against the Houthis, given that their businesses seem to benefit more from opening up these shipping lanes, as discussed in that chat?
Here's the problem, okay? These guys, these Houthis, these are pirates, okay? This is a band of, it's a gang, in essence. That's gotten control of a certain part, but these are a religious fanatic gang. And these guys have missiles, and they've launched 174 attacks against U.S. Navy ships, 150-something attacks on commercial vessels. And so I think the point that I've made publicly is we are doing a great favor to the world. The United States is doing a great favor to the world, going after these guys' capability of doing this.
At least 53 people, including 5 children and 2 women, were killed in the campaign's initial strikes. The Houthis also reported U.S. strikes on the city of Sanaa, a rebel stronghold. President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that the Houthis, quote, want peace, unquote, after more than a week of strikes, which he described as very, very strong.
The new campaign of strikes under President Donald Trump's administration is expected to cause more material damage to the Houthis compared to limited strikes under the Biden administration. They conducted very limited strikes on Houthi-held areas across Yemen. But Donald Trump's administration has expanded its targeting of the Iran-backed Houthis. It's not known exactly what's going to happen going forward, but all we know for sure is that the Trump administration will continue their attacks on Houthi-held areas across Yemen. But many experts and officials say bombing alone might not be enough to stop the Houthis. A more diplomatic approach is needed to get them to the table to stop their activities across the region.
A tourist submarine sank off the coast of the Egypt Red Sea city of Hurghada on Thursday. At least 6 people died and 9 others were injured. The submarine was taking around 40 Russian passengers on an underwater tour of coral reefs. That's according to reporting from the local daily El Masri El Yom. The newspaper published a photograph of the sunken craft. The vessel is believed to be operated by Sinbad Submarines. The company's website says it's been running tourist trips in Egypt for 25 years. It says its submarines are fitted with 44 passenger seats and that they travel to a depth of 25 meters. It boasts tours along 500 meters of coral reefs and views of marine life. A notorious Kurdish gangster has fled Turkey to avoid extradition on drug trafficking charges he's facing in Sweden. That's according to a Swedish prosecutor speaking to The National. Rawa Majid is a 39-year-old Turkish citizen known as the Kurdish Fox and widely accused of playing a major part in gang violence. He's known to lead the Foxtrot network of criminals. He was, until recently, residing in Turkey, where his citizenship protected him from being extradited to Sweden. Authorities had hoped Majid's prosecution on forgery charges would result in his citizenship being revoked, allowing his return to Sweden. But Henrik Soderman, who submitted the first extradition request to Turkey, has confirmed that Majid is no longer in the country.
He's believed to have been born in Iran to parents who had moved there from Kurdistan to escape fighting during the Iran-Iraq War.
The National's Tariq Tahir reports.
The family settled in Uppsala in Sweden, but he drifted towards a life of crime when he was growing up. Now, this case really resonates in Sweden because Majid and his rival gangster Ismail Abdo, also known as Rumba, been engaged in a brutal turf war which has really shattered Sweden's image as a peaceful, law-abiding country. The large number of migrants who make up Sweden's violent organised crime gangs has become a political issue and contributed to the rise of the Sweden Democrats, a right-wing populist party there. Swedish authorities are really keen to show that they're cracking down on these gangs.
Majid was alleged to have worked for Iran by carrying out attacks on Israeli and Jewish targets and targeting opponents of Tehran's regime. That's resulted in him and the Foxtrot network being placed under sanctions by the US.
Now, there are other layers to the story that tie Majid to tensions in the Middle East and relations between Turkey and Sweden. Now, he's been accused of carrying out attacks on behalf of Iran on the regime's enemies. Now, when he was in Turkey, the authorities refused to extradite him because of his Turkish citizen. That was in 2023, and it came as Turkey was seeking to extradite activists and journalists from Sweden in return for approving Sweden's NATO membership. So his activities play into wider relations in the region.
That's all for this morning's headlines. You can get these stories and follow live updates at our site. Yasmin Altaji, The National.